Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody this morning? Well, let's first take a look. We've got gold at 26.51. It was 26.68, and at about 8 o'clock, it goes from 26.62 to 22.36, and then now it's back to 26.50, and then we're holding our breath for the 10 o'clock U.S. derivative. Sometimes it doesn't go down, sometimes it does. So we're hoping to stay around 26.50. And then silver 31.82 is getting close to 32, but won't go. Yesterday, 3-0 in our picks. We had Tampa Bay winning over Atlanta, and then we hit both college games. All right, just a second. I got to get my tea. All right, sorry about that. So, the pro game yesterday, I take the dog, Tampa Bay, plus 7.5, I believe, and they go to overtime on kick, and they lose 36-30 in overtime. But we don't care because all we care about is we had 7.5, 8.5. Hard with Atlanta Tampa to figure over under because you never know what you're going to get. All right, let's look at the college. We nailed the college. So we have Texas State minus 7, and they win 38-17. My score was 37-7. Pretty fucking close. Sam Houston, we have minus 4.5, 10.5 down to 4.5. They win 41-21. So we start off 3-0, not a bad, because Thursdays always bad. I always have a hard time with Thursdays. So basically, we played against the Z team UTEP with Sam Houston, who's a pretty good team. And then we played against Troy because Troy sucks, and we had a good Texas State team in 38-17. So they each win by 20, and we're laying a 7, and we're laying a 4.5. Just the way we drew it up. So we're going to go through the lines. I have 1, 2. I got 4. Who's my other lock? I believe I got 4 locks going this weekend. Yes. I actually have a lot going tonight with them, and then I have so I got 3 locks going tomorrow. I got 1 lock going tonight. And then I got other strong plays, and I'll probably add a few today. Let's see. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6. Well, I had 6 college plays. I've got 5 left. 2 are locks, 15 unit, and 2 11 units. In the pros, I have Tampa Bay yesterday with another team, and then I got a lock. And I will add probably 3 or 4 more waiting on injuries. Oakland, is Devontae Adams going to the JETSs. The London game, which is screwing us up. But anyway, so that's what I got on tap for us. So let's go through the line. Tonight we have Jacksonville State, 16.5, 49 to Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State is the Z team. Jacksonville State is an over team. We've got Houston and TCU. TCU 16.5, 17, 51 to Houston. Houston, good under team with a really good defense, but they only get 266 yards of offense against TCU. Got a good offense and a kind of a weak 31 defense. So it's really a mixed game. Very good under against very good over. We got Vegas 6.5, 57.5 to Syracuse. I think this was 58.5. There's a 58.5, 57.5. Vegas has been playing very well. Killed Mikey Keene last week. And Syracuse has the Ohio State quarterback on it. Oregon, Michigan State. Oregon 23.5, 52. Hasn't really moved. Michigan State. Now, the only caveat in this game is their coach is the Oregon State coach, which makes it he's seen him enough. He's seen him before. So he'll know how to defend them, I think. If he can's another story, but he knows the team. So this will be an interesting game. Then tomorrow, Penn State 27.5, 46.5 to UCLA. UCLA is a Z team, Penn State an A. Nevada, Navy 9.5, 37 to the Air Force. That's stayed. We've got Louisville 6.5, 56.5 to SMU, which should be a very good game. SMU crushed Florida State last week. Well, that doesn't count. They did beat. Who did SMU beat? They beat a good team. They beat Baylor, I think, 1916. A&M 2.5, 48.5 to Missouri. Missouri's an A team. A&M is a B team. The Army 12.5, 51 to Tulsa. Army's been playing red hot. They're throwing the ball more, and it's not just run play. It's not just triple option. They've been throwing the ball pretty well. Virginia 152, and from what I read, that the BC quarterback who was out last week because of injury is playing, so they're back to full strength. DC's been playing decently this year um, with the new coach, the Penn State coach. Wisconsin, 13.5, 45 to Purdue. Wisconsin without Van Dyke, they just don't look good. They don't have that killer defense that we're used to seeing. And Purdue has a terrible defense, apparently, and not much offense. So it's W team against the U team. I don't, W teams like a Z team, but they score more. So it's really a grading for me to know the Z team scores like 10, 15 a game in college, and maybe these guys are scoring 20, but they're giving up, 33. So they're definitely not quite a Z team. They score too much to be a Z team. Pitt, North Carolina. Pitt 2.5, 64.5. Line hasn't moved. Both of these teams are over teams. Pitt's got a new quarterback. North Carolina, their quarterback sucks. Good running back. Defense, I don't know. They blew a 20-7 lead to Duke last week, and Duke beat them 21-20. Not that Duke's all that good, but they're decent. North Carolina, they just don't look good. Northern Illinois, the mystery team, 17, 43.5 to UMass. Where are they? Oh, there they are. Okay. 17, 44.5, down from 45. I don't know. They had a lot of yards. They went from a 700-yard offense to a 417-yard offense. So week one must have been a fluke. That's why I took him against Notre Dame, and now they're down to 400. So it's an average offense. So this is what you have to do. You have to adjust to it. NC State, 4.5, 53.5 to Wake, down from 5.5. The sharp money coming in on Wake. I hate Wake's quarterback. Backenmeyer really, really sucks. He sucked at Boise. He sucked last year, and he sucks this year. I have both teams as an over, and both teams have really bad 30 defenses. So, but this is where I don't believe it's an over game. 286 yards for NC State. How are they an over? They get killed by Clemson and they get killed by Tennessee. So we'll wait and see. Tulane, 16.5, 55.5 to UAB. Up from 14.5. The Sharps are on them. Look out. Tulane, very good team. UAB, I adjusted for the high school team. They're now a 36 defense from a 28 defense. So they're really not a good defensive team. Tulane, pretty good. They played Oklahoma, pretty good game, even though Oklahoma's not all that, but moving up in class. Wyoming, Western Michigan, 9.5, 57 to Ball State. Ball State, they're both W teams. Western with the 36 defense, Ball State with the 49. I got a feeling Ball State played Alabama or Ohio State or somebody. Or Tennessee. Somebody cranked it on them. Now we're in conference, so now it's apples and oranges. Here they are. And then here they are in conference, which is similar competition. As I say, like a horse race, right? So the horse moves up in class. He doesn't do as well, but when he's in class, he wins. So that's what you have here. So we'll have to figure out the MAC and the Sun Belt teams in conference. East Carolina, 8.5, 47 to Charlotte. Where be you? East Car, Charlotte. Here it is. So this is our middle of the next page. because they moved it to 3:30 from 12 o'clock. What do I got? 8.5, 47. All right, so we'll keep it there. That's what it was. Charlotte, the Z team, 33 defense. East Carolina B team, a 19 defense. App State and Marshall. We've got Marshall 358. App State's a W. They're surprised. They have Joey Aguilar, but they're not scoring that much, and they got a 36 defense all of a sudden. I think their coach moved on. The James Madison coach moved to Indiana, and then somebody moved to James Madison, and then somebody moved there, and then App State lost their coach and didn't get a good one, I think. Good quarterback, Joey Aguilar, but that's about all they got. So 36 defense. Marshall's an E team, 25 defense. Big game. Ohio State is 18.5, down from 19, and 45.5, up from 44.5. Very interesting game here. Both are A teams. Iowa is scoring much more. They're scoring in the 40s. The Iowa, maybe use the Iowa State game like 20-19 as a comparison. Ohio State, at home should put up some points. So this game's been going up, but Ohio State, they're dynamite. They'll score at home. Iowa's only chance in this game is if they play it in Iowa on the grass with the noise. They get neither here. They get the artificial turf at Ohio State. So Ohio State gets the noise. So interesting game. I don't think Iowa can beat them. They got a great running back, Iowa. Their defense isn't as strong as normal. And Ohio State, just these 18-year-old freshmen in Alabama and here, just spectacular. I don't get the 17-year-old on Alabama. Isn't he too young to be playing? In my mind, doesn't he have to be 18? Maybe I'm wrong, but obviously he's playing and he's 17, but just odd that he'd be that. He's got those quick little moves that's hard to tackle, like he stops and like a Barry Sanders. Got to watch those Barry Sanders guys. Indiana, 13.5, 41.5 against Northwestern. Indy's very strong this year, an 18, 13 defense. Northwestern, an under team with a 19 defense. We'll see how good Indy is here. They haven't really played. They played at UCLA. We see UCLA is kind of a bad team this year, but still going to the Rose Bowl and beating UCLA is still, and they killed them, is still a good feat. So I like Indiana this year. Seem to be very well coached. They got a good quarterback, a good defense, a good offensive scheme. There's always crossing routes. There's always somebody. He just flips it over to him. So definitely like Indy. Put up 42 on Maryland last week. Not that Maryland's got a great defense, but they held them to 28. So pretty solid team here. VTech, 8.5, 49.5 to Stanford. Hasn't moved. VTech got screwed in the Miami game. Clearly a touchdown. The guy's laying on the ground with the ball. 10 minutes later, the defensive guy pulls it off of him, and they call it incomplete because there's no visual evidence. So it was a touchdown with no visual evidence to overturn it, and they overturn it. What the fuck? So all their bullshit. Sound like the government. Both teams are over teams, 26 defense. And again, you got 8.5, 49.5. Miami of Ohio, Toledo 6.5 and 44. Toledo is an A team, 19 defense. Miami of Ohio is an under team, a 22 defense. Bowling Green, Akron. Bowling Green is 15.5, up from 14.5. And 51 to Akron. Bowling Green is a mystery team. They played Penn State and A&M really close. Then they lose to Old Dominion. What are you guys doing? Here you get Akron, probably the worst team in college football, a Z team, a 40 defense, a whopping 226 yards a game in Bowling Green. An E team, 400 yards a game, 27 defense. If there's a game Bowling Green's going to win, it's this one. Beating Lowell. If they don't beat Akron, there's, the coach is gone. 15 and a half. I mean, you're under 10. Seems doable. Connecticut and Temple. Hard to believe Connecticut's 16 and a half over anybody. 16 and a half, 50. Temple's a Z team. 37 defense, 300 yards of offense. Connecticut is a over team, a 22 defense, 390. They blew out somebody last week. Georgia. Sweet Georgia Brown, 22 and a half, down from 24 and a half, and 51 and a half was 52. Auburn's a B team, lost to Cal 21-14. They lost last week to Oklahoma by 10. Maybe that's why the line's going down. Georgia 22 and a half. I think it's a little bit high. Yeah, they are off of a loss, which they haven't done in 3 years in the regular season. 15 defense, which is real. 409 yards. They're not running the ball very much. This is mostly they're 2-1 pass to run, which is unlike Georgia. And I think that's the problem. They're too much. They need to pound the ball, rest of the defense, and they're not doing it. So we'll see. Last time they went on the road, they won 13-12 to Kentucky. So we'll see. I do expect Georgia to be on fire after the loss. Absolutely. Ole Miss and South Carr, 8, 53 and a half. This was 9. There's 1 9.5. Let's call it 8.5. Mississippi, an A team, 13 defense after I took out the high school team. South Carr is a B team with the 17 defense. We know Ole Miss, 580 yards, but again, I can't take the high school team out of it. So let's call them 500 yards. South Carolina, 323. This is your free play. Go over in the game, 53 and a half, over 47 and a half. I just see South Carolina's been scoring in the 30s lately, and Ole Miss should get into the 40s. I look at the South Carolina LSU game, 37-34, and I go, yeah. I see Mississippi's offense just like the LSU offense. They should be explosive. Dart, way overrated. He's not that good. He transferred from SC because he wasn't the starter there. He's okay, but he's not great. I mean, I'd rather have who off the top of my head. I can't think. No Rose is a lot better. But South Carolina got a freshman, more of a running quarterback, but he's tough to bring down. But they've been scoring 30, 40 points against good teams. So I think the over, I got 37-24. I got a 61 here. And we only need, I think what I like about it is it's 53. So we go over 47. And I'd be shocked if this game doesn't get into the 30s. I mean, 37-24 or 33-30, something like that. I'd be shocked if this is 10-7. Right? Not last week, Kentucky had the strong defense, and it was still a 20-17 game. South Carolina doesn't have the defense, and after looking, Ole Miss's defense is not an 8. It's decent, but not an 8. Off of a loss, Ole Miss will be pissed, so they'll score a lot of points. They might get over for us. Rutgers, Nebraska, very good game. Both are A team. Well, Nebraska I got as a B team. They're not scoring as much. I got Nebraska 7 and 40 and a half. Rutgers just beat Washington because Washington missed 3 field goals, but they still beat them. They're a good team, an A team, 400 yards offense and a 16 defense, and a good running back. Nebraska doesn't have the great offense, but has a great defense. A B team, 12 defense. But the ironic part is, like, I like the over in the game more than I like the under, which is weird because Rutgers is putting up points. What was the game with last week? Was a 38 with Washington, right? 20-18 or 21-18 or something like that. That was a 39, but because this is so low at a 40, this isn't Iowa. These teams have offenses. So because of that, I kind of really don't like the under, in which I would normally like an under. They have good offenses too. So you got to be able to analyze. Do they have offense? They're an 18. They got an offense. Otherwise, the under teams we like to play under, teams with weak offenses and strong defenses like Iowa last year. But if a team's an 18, they got a good offense, be careful going under on the game. Especially watch where the spot is. Here it's 40. That's too low to go, hey, I can go under 46. They could get there. Over 34, yeah, they're going to be there third quarter probably. Oak State, West Virginia. Oak State 3 and 64.5 to West Virginia. Now these are both over teams. West Virginia 29 defense, Oak State a 25 defense. Should be I think it'll be definitely a high scoring game here. Yeah, I love fucking Bama against Vanderbilt. Good luck stopping Milrose and the 17-year-old. 23. I see a 22.5 and 53.5. So let's adjust. Vanderbilt should score a little bit on them. Not a lot, but I think 53.5 is kind of low. 47.5. Milrose might do that on his own. Look for Alabama. They've scored 40 points a game, and they did play Georgia. So very explosive team. Georgia showed you could throw on them, and I believe Vandy with Daggio Pavia will put up some points. Not a lot, but some. The 23 may be doable. The total may be doable. So keep an eye on that. But this Milrose, 40 points a game. Oregon State, 11, 47.5 to Colorado State. Colorado State, a W team, 29 defense. Oregon State, a B team. They run a lot. They're a good running team, 400 yards a game, 21 defense. Colorado State is pretty bad. Not quite a Z team, but pretty close. Clemson and Florida State. We've got Clemson 14.5, 46.5. Florida State, Oogly Boogly is out with the broken finger. They probably broke it on purpose. I could see the coach going, break his finger. We got to get him out. And Clemson's been really scoring a lot since the Georgia game. They put up a 70 on NC State. They put up basically 50 points a game. Florida State, it's an unknown now. We got a new quarterback. How is he going to be? If he was any good, he'd have replaced Oogly Boogly a while ago. So we have a non-quarterback for Florida State, but you got to be careful. They've been getting 278 yards a game with Oogly Boogly. So we'll see what this guy is. It'll be a little first half. He'll do things that they're not used to seeing because they don't have tape on him. But I think Clemson gets the W here. Our James Madison team putting up 80 points a game. 16, 48.5, down from 16.5. Against Lou Monroe, Madison's an A team, 17 defense, 452 yards, balanced offense, really good quarterback, really fast. Lou Monroe's an under team with a 20 defense. Now, they only get 200 yards of offense, but they've won 3 games. This is really hard to figure. but I would think James Madison will put the burners on and end up with the W. But we'll see what Lou Monroe can do. Again, Lou Monroe hasn't played anybody like James Madison. That's the deceit of the numbers. You see good numbers, but it's against Z team, W team, college, high school team, and that's the difference. Old D, Coastal Carolina. Old D, Coastal Carolina is 5.5, 52.5. Can't read what I got there. I think it was 55 to 54. Old D's an under team, but they just beat a good team. I think Bowling or Northern Illinois. Coastal Carolina, they're an over team, 28 defense. Old D, I think, is a live dog in this game, but it's hard to say. Boise, 26.5, 65.5 to Utah State. Utah State's a W team, 42 defense. Boise is over team. Played Oregon 37-34, and then really last week blew out Washington State in our lock over. So that was good. And, they got this great runner, Gentry. So they should have a good game against Utah State. South Alabama, 3 and 61.5 to Arkansas State. South Alabama, I don't know. They get explosive, and then they played Ohio like 20-10, and then they put up 80 on a high school team, and then 50, 60 on another weak team, and then lost to another team. So they got killed last week by LSU 42-10. So I don't know what's going on with South Alabama. Major Applewhite is the coach who was a quarterback at Texas. So you thought they're going to be explosive. I got them as an over, but their defense sucks. They got a 35 defense. Arkansas State's a W with the 34. I think the only way you play South Alabama is over in conference. I got screwed playing them over against LSU, and they didn't show up. So you got to be careful. Here, maybe you get it, but Arkansas State doesn't score much. Lou Lafayette against and Southern Miss. Lou Lafayette. I gotta highlight Lou Lafayette. Southern Miss is the Z team. Lou Lafayette, the B team. The line is 16.5, 57.5. This line jumped. Lou Lafayette, a B team, 400 yards a game. Southern Miss is a Z team, getting 193 a game. Check something. Okay. Michigan and Washington. This game's down to 1.5 from 2.5, and 41.5 is still the total. Michigan orgy's terrible. The defense, you can pass on it. Can Washington pass? They played Rutgers very good. I think this is a close game. I don't think Washington blows them out. There's something about Michigan, even though they don't have a quarterback, and their defense is weak against the pass. Hard to say here, but they got to travel to Washington, which is going to definitely screw them up, the time zone and the jet lag. So I think Washington wins the game close. I'm not sure total-wise what to do with it. Is Michigan, Iowa this year? No offense, good defense, but then Minnesota lit them up for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So I don't know what's going on with them. It seems like you can beat them passing the ball. USC put up 3 touchdowns. Minnesota, Texas lit them up. So does Washington have the passing offense to light them up? We'll find out. Iowa State, 12.5, 45 to Baylor. I like Iowa State. I don't know if I like them here. Um, Baylor's a good team. They just have a stupid coach. A B team, 25 defense. Iowa State's an A team, but kind of an under team. A very strong defense, a 7 defense. So you can't really go over in this game. Laying 12.5. Can they cover? Can they win by a touchdown? I don't know. Baylor can score. They switched quarterbacks to Robertson, and he looks a lot better. So I'm not really sure. Normally Iowa State I like in an under situation, but Baylor's like the Riddler. Like, are they an over team? Are they not? I got them as a B team with the 25 defense. So Iowa State probably gets the win, but it's probably close, and I can't tell you high scoring or low scoring. This is the Riddler game of the day. USC 8.5, 49.5. Down from 51. The Sharps are betting this game under for some reason. I don't know. USC I have as an A team, 17 defense. I question. Minnesota B team with a 15 defense. Did score on Michigan. They playing at home. Their quarterback sucked. Is getting better. USC, just what the hell are they? They're down 21-10 to Wisconsin. Then they come on in the second half. So they're like playing one half of football. Against Michigan, they didn't show up in the first half, scored in the second half. So we'll have to see. I think USC does get the win, but Minnesota at home is tough. They could, they still could upset them. USC's not that strong at this point. Quarterback's okay. The defense okay, but nothing to write home about. San Jose State 751 to Nevada. Nevada under team. San Jose State an A team. Both have 24 defenses. San Jose State's not bad. They got the Navy coach. The Hawaiian guy is their coach now. So you're getting a little Navy football here. Tennessee, Arkansas, really good game. Tennessee 13.5. 57 down from 58. Tennessee, we've seen an A team, 7 defense. Arkansas, an A team with a 20 defense. Lost to Texas A&M last week. I don't like their quarterback. A lot of bad throws. Tennessee, you think they're strong, and then they play at Oklahoma 25-15. Okay, so this is not an Oklahoma defense. So they should win, but you're laying 13.5, 7.5. They probably win by 2 touchdowns, would be my guess. Florida and UCF. UCF 2.5, 61.5. This was Florida favored. This goes 61-60. Quit monkeying around, guys. Keep the spread. Don't go 61, 60, 61. All right. UCF, much the better team here. Both are over teams. Both have 32 defenses. Can we trust Florida to make this an over game is the question. I don't know. Graham Mertz, Wisconsin quarterback's okay. Tough to determine. I don't think this is a normal over team, Florida, but UCF we know is an over team. I liked UCF when they were the dog. I thought that was an easy one, but now they're 2.5. A little bit more difficult. Arizona State 2.5, 51 to Kansas. Kansas is an E team with a 30 defense. They're getting better. Daniels is getting better offensively. I'm noticing Arizona State, good running back. Quarterback's more of a runner. He throws okay. Not a lot of touchdown passes. They're a B team, 22 defense, over under of 50.5 you can get. Yeah, I think this is a pretty close game, pretty good game. We could get the over in the game, I think. 51-45, yeah. I think that gets there. San Diego State, 2.5, 48.5 to Hawaii. I can see why I don't know why it went from 48.5 to 50.5, and now it's back to 48.5. Again, monkeying around. Hawaii doesn't score. Neither. They're both under teams. So I don't know. Georgia Tech, you can get an 8.5 and a 52.5 in this game. Down, well, let's call it 53, down from 54. Duke's a B team, 16 defense, came back to beat North Carolina. They were down 20-7. They got a good running back on I think Starlight is the running back. Georgia Tech, we know we love Kings, and we like the coach Key. Both are B and a 20 defense. So you got two B teams. 53 is your total, and 8.5. So Duke, I think, is a fairly good team with a fairly good defense. So again, I don't know over or under. It's really difficult. Like, do I go under 59? I hate doing that in a Georgia Tech game. Duke seems to have a good defense. They held North Carolina, who has a good running back, to 20, and they were able to come back when they needed it. So should be a tight game, and 47, maybe it goes over. Miami, 10.5, 54. Miami's just totally fucked here, having to fly from Miami to San Francisco, basically. Going to be jet-lagged and time-lagged. 10.5. And Cal knows Cam Ward from Washington State. Again, just like the Oregon game, where the Michigan State coach was the Oregon State coach. He knows Oregon. And here, Cal knows Cam Ward. Cam Ward's starting to throw some interceptions against Virginia Tech, as he did at Washington State. He's not all that. Cal with the 12 defense, they're an under team, and Miami with the 15 defense. So this should be an interesting game. I wouldn't be surprised if Cal wins it. And our last but not least, our 11 o'clock game. So we've got to bet this one so we can be up till 2 in the morning. Arizona 6.5 and 64 to T-Tech. T-Tech, very strong running back, good quarterback, no defense. Arizona, a good offense with Fafita. They don't have a great defense either. This should definitely get up there. 64. Yeah, this should be in the 30s for sure. So it should be right around that 64 area. And that is your college. I got 4 locks in that mess. The free play is Ole Miss against South Carolina over. Ole Miss should light it up for us. South Carolina will give us some points. And that's your free play. Let's go to the pros. We hit the game yesterday. We played the dog. Tampa Bay getting 8.5. Goes to overtime on a 52-yard kick to tie at 30. And Atlanta gets a touchdown to win 36-30. Tampa, you never know if they have a defense or not, but that was a beautiful dog game. Atlanta does not blow out anybody. They're not capable of it. Kirk Cousins, I didn't see the game yet. I'm sure he had a few picks. My score in the game was Atlanta 21, Tampa 20, and it was 30-30. So that was dead on. But we get the W, teasing the dog, 36-30. When you got a weak favorite like the Bears, like Arizona, the JET, well, not the JETSs, but New England here, Carolina, if they're ever a favorite, they're weak favorites. You take the dog in those games most of the time, unless there's critical injuries. Minnesota 2.5, 40.5, hasn't moved. This is the stupid London game at 9:30 in the fucking morning. Bet it today, bet it tomorrow. Don't wait till Sunday morning. You'll sleep in and you'll get up watching the Texas Tech Arizona game, and you'll miss the 9:30 and you miss the bet. So get the bet in probably today or tomorrow. Rodgers against Darnold. All of a sudden, Darnold's a superstar. The Jets are an A team, 15 defense, and the Jets are an under team with a 16 defense, but look for Rodgers to get cooking. Again, you still have a few of the week 1, week 2 bullshit preseason. Now you're finally getting into week 5. So now week 3 and week 4. So you got to look for, are there changes? Washington 3, 43.5 to Cleveland. Washington's been lighting it up. Daniels looks good. Washington's an over team with the 26 defense. The defense has been getting better. Cleveland an under team with the 22 defense. Watson's just terrible. Maybe he starts getting a little better. 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. He wants to run too much. So we will see. But Washington's been playing lights out. I mean, to do what they did to Arizona, wow. Daniels is for real. The free play, Cincinnati, Baltimore, 2.5 and 49 to Cincinnati. They're both over teams. Baltimore, 435 yards, 22 defense. Lamar's 5-1. Cincinnati, an over team, a 26 defense. And Joe Burrow, 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. And that's one of the reasons I like it over is Cincinnati's scoring. Baltimore's not going to stop them at Cincinnati anyway. Crowd noise won't be an issue. But Cincinnati's defense, Carolina lit them up and Washington lit them up. Baltimore's going to light them up, but Joe Burrow's going to light them back. Baltimore, we saw blow the lead against Oakland of all teams, and then they beat Buffalo. So you can't just be tunnel vision. Look what they did to Buffalo. You also can't forget the Oakland game or the Kansas City game. So my score is 27-24 Baltimore in this. That's a 51. We're at 48. So 42. 42 is just too low for Joe Burrow and Baltimore. This should, all we need is 24-20. We'll get that. We'll probably get into the 30s. But Cincinnati doesn't seem to have a defense anymore, and Baltimore's defense, suspect. They're not going to handle Burrow like they handle Josh Allen. This is a different animal here. Again, this is not at home against Buffalo. This is at Joe Burrow world, and you can't say, oh, they're going to do what they did to Buffalo. No, it doesn't work that way. They're on the road, and they're playing Joe Burrow. Totally different. There's no way they're going to hold Cincinnati to 10 points. Speaking of Buffalo, 1 and 47.5 to Houston. Buffalo's the A team coming off of a loss, 21 defense. Allen is 7-0, touchdown interception. Houston, an even team, 24 defense. Stroud, 6-2. I just think Buffalo is the better team here. They're the A team. Jacksonville, 345.5 to Indy. Well, who this is my Riddler game. Indy, an E team. I don't know if Richardson's playing or Flacco's playing. He's still questionable. Jacksonville, even with Trevor Lawrence, you wish they'd go to Mac Jones. A W team, Jacksonville, 27 defense. I don't have a defense. If it is Flacco, he'll light him up. If it's Richardson, he'll run all over him, I guess, if he's playing. I think Indy's a live dog. To go back to what I was saying about a weak favorite, Jacksonville's a weak favorite. However, as Indy a strong dog, I don't trust Richardson. I didn't even know Flacco was still playing. The guy's going to play till he's 80 years old. That's how weak the league is that Joe Flacco, you can't do any better than him. The Bears, 441 to Carolina. Carolina is I'm going to call them an over team with Andy Dalton, a Z team with Bryce Young. So with Dalton, they're scoring. Their defense still sucks, 32. The Bears are an under team, a 19 defense, but they don't, Caleb, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. Dalton's got 5 touchdowns and 1 pick in 2 games. Caleb played 4 games and's got only 3 touchdowns. If you blitz Caleb, he can't handle it. So it's a weak favorite here in Chicago. With Dalton, you feel comfortable they're going to score points, and you just don't see the points by the Bears enough to cover 10. Miami, New England. Oh my God, terrible game. New England is 136.5. Miami is Z team, 26 defense. I guess it's Huntley going. against New England's an under team with 22 defense. Brissett, he sucked. They both suck. There won't be points in this game. The Niners, 7.5, 49.5 to Arizona. Interesting game here. Arizona, what's happened to them? Kyler Murray is not moving. 13 points on the Lions, but 14 on Washington. There's a problem. 14 on Washington there. I'm not getting it. The Niners. I think Deebo Samuel's back. Kittle's back. Just McCaffrey's still out. Purdy's looking pretty good. So again, Arizona is kind of a O or W team. I'm not sure. They give a 27 defense. I know the defense sucks. Frisco's a B team with the 21 defense. They're not scoring, but they're starting to score better. Purdy, they need the game. Last week they were 2-2. They needed the game. This week they need the game against Arizona. Arizona is just Murray's 6 touchdowns and 1 pick, but where have they been? So he lights up the Rams, and then Detroit basically shuts them down. Washington shuts them down. The Niners are going to shut them down. So Denver, Oakland, Denver 3-36. Looks like Oakland's going to trade Devontae Adams to the JETSs, which will help both teams. I don't think Oakland knows. The coach is not very good, Aaron Pierce. With Crosby's listed as questionable, so is Adams. So if they're going to trade him, he probably won't play, but we'll see. If they play, it's a competitive game. But Oakland's so up and down, you don't know. They're an E team with the 24 defense. Minshew, 3-3, touchdown interceptions. Denver, an under team, 14 defense. So the defense has been very strong. The offense, 271 a game, is not. So we'll see. If Crosby plays, then he probably will. He's listed as questionable. So I can't imagine he misses 2 games in a row, especially a division game. The Rams in Green Bay. Green Bay 3, 48.5. Green Bay gets Love back. He played a full game last week. Love 6 touchdowns, 4 picks. Stafford, no Puka-Nuka, no Cooper Kupp. Tutu Atwell is their man. Green Bay, decent. They're an over team with the 22 defense, so they're probably more of a B team with Love. The Rams are just a W team. They're not scoring, and their defense is atrocious, 29. Okay. Seattle, 6.5, 43.5. I don't know. Seattle, the offense looked really good. They should have ran Kenneth Walker, and they would have scored a couple more touchdowns. Their defense looked like shit, which is surprising because their coach is a defensive coordinator. I guess 1 year at Michigan and 2 years of the Baltimore Ravens is enough to make you a head coach. Doesn't look really good. The Giants suck. I mean, what can you say? An under team with a 21 defense. Seattle, an over team with the 21 defense. This Seattle, they're not a great home team. The Giants are just terrible. When are they going to get rid of Daniel Jones? Where's Danny DeVito? At least give him a chance to win. Pitt, Dallas, Pitt 2.5, 44. Micah Parsons is doubtful. DeMarcus Lawrence is out, I believe. We had to keep an eye on the injuries. Dallas, an over team with the 26 defense, I believe I got him at. Or 21. I'm not. It looks like a 26. And Pitt's an under team with the 13 defense. It's all down. Fields, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. Dax, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks. It's a hard one here because it's hard to have Dallas as a dog to Pittsburgh. This is one of the weak over, like New England, like Chicago. They're a very weak favorite, Pitt, because they don't score, but they have a great defense. Dallas, Micah Parsons, we'll see if he plays. Probably wants to, especially against Pitt. He's from Penn State, but we'll see. And our last game is KC 5.5, 43. to New Orleans. New Orleans is an A team with an 18 defense. Carr's 6-3. KC's an under team. They're not really scoring. They do enough to win. 17-10 to San Diego. Barely beat Cincinnati. Barely beat Baltimore. Now they played a killer schedule, and they're undefeated. They're not getting an easy one here in New Orleans. They might have thought they were getting an easy one, but this New Orleans, Olave, Kamara, Shahi, the other receiver, very strong defense, and 18 defense. So this is a very good game here. Very doable. So that's your pros. Again, we got to look at a few injuries. Micah Parsons. We got to look at, I think with the Niners, we know Oakland, Crosby, and Devontae Adams. So you're trying to get the variables right. So Oakland, full strength, Oakland without Devontae Adams and Crosby are not the same team. And that's why you gotta check the injuries, because it's a totally different team and a totally different bet with them or without them. Hey, Randy. T-Bay lost, not in the teaser. They didn't. This is teaser world. So we had 8.5. So T-Bay won. Everything's a teaser here because it gives us a much better chance of winning. So yeah, they lost in overtime, but we had 8.5 points. So it was a winner. 36. I won 38.5 to 36. So keep in mind, this is teasers. I'm the teaser king. So everything's in teasers. I don't like straight bets. I think the 6 points is a huge, huge advantage. Picking 2 games is a piece of cake for me. I usually have 7 to 8 pros a week and about 10 to 12 college. So to use the excuse, you got to pick 2 games to win is a joke. It's a lot easier picking 2 games to win and winning. Yesterday we had Sam Houston in one and Texas State in one. So finding 2 games, even on a Thursday night, was easy. So I don't know if that's your point. T-Bay lost. If you bet it straight or that in a teaser, or you're just making the comment that they lost, I don't know what you're doing, but more explanation. Don't just say T-Bay lost. What does that mean? Not in a bet, not in a teaser. So learn teasers. You add 6 to the spread. It's a huge advantage. Anyway, I got to get out of here. I got 11:30. So another 2 minutes. So that's it. So your pro free pick is Baltimore Cincy over 42.5, not 48.5, with Ole Miss over with South Carolina at 52, goes over 46. Which is why we play teasers, which is what makes time travel possible, as we know. So that's it. Keep your eye on the injuries, which we will update, and off we go. So remember what class you're in there, Randy. Teaser class. This is what we do when we do it better than anybody. Anyway, so good luck tonight. You've got Jacksonville State, Tennessee State. Tennessee State's the Z team. Houston, TCU. Houston can't score, great defense. TCU, great offense, can't play defense. Syracuse, Vegas. Vegas, very good team. Blew out Mikey Keene last week. Syracuse, but the game's in Vegas. Syracuse is a decent team. And then Oregon, Michigan State. You would think Oregon would roll them. However, the Michigan State coach is from the Oregon State coach. If anybody knows how to play Oregon, it's the Oregon State coach. So you got to be careful there. I don't think it's as I think Oregon will blow them out, but you can't ignore that factor. So we'll be back tomorrow at 10. What's today? Friday night class, 7 to 8. If you want to sign up for the college class where we go through all the games, the picks, my scores, my locks, my picks. So that's 7 to 8, $25. Just go to www.teaserking.com. And we do it on Zoom, so you can comment back. And that's it. So anyway, welcome to the class, Randy. But keep in mind, we are teasers, 6 points. It's, that's why I pick a high percentage. I go from 50% to 75%. Like I say, last week I was 9-1 in the pros. I don't know if I needed the teaser in too many of the games, but that's the point. Guys are going 50% in regular. I'm doing 70, 75, sometimes 90 percent in picking with the 6 points, because I am a man. This is master level class. I know what to do with the 6 points, when to use them, when not to, what be careful, when not to be careful with them. Anyway, got to go. Gold, let's check and see where gold's at. Ooh, shut up. See, at 10 o'clock, you never know what's going to happen. Normally it drops, but not today. So it dropped at 8 o'clock from 26.62 to 23.36. And now we're back over 26.62 at 26.65. So you never know. So the U.S. is probably not shorting it as much because they realize that the demand for gold is super high. Look at silver, 32.65, waiting for silver to break into the hundreds, which it will do very soon. Anyway, I am off. I will be back this afternoon with economics. www.teaserking.com. You want to buy the picks, $100 for all the picks, including locks, pro, and college. You can buy the locks, you can buy college, you can buy pro. $77 for those, or join the class tonight, $25. And I go through every game just like I do now, only I add my score, my picks, my spread, and say, oh, here's the lock. Boom, boom, boom. So it's a very beneficial class. I get into a lot of detail, and it's on Zoom, so you can get into it. All right, everybody, have a good day. I have an 11:30 I got to get to. All right, take care, everybody.